Hi guys. So today we are going to talk about LC to LC partnership. Essentially, how we can work with another LC overseas to actually co-deliver a better experience. Um, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the why of LC to LC partnership. Why we actually need to work with another LC, and how we can do it. So if you think about it, what AIESEC does essentially is exchanges. The concept of exchanges is an, an entity will actually raise a project, and then another entity will actually raise an EP. And then once a project is raised and an EP is raised, then an exchange can happen. So if you think about that, I want to ask you this question: how many exchanges can one LC in AIESEC actually deliver? 50, 100? Unfortunately, not one LC cannot deliver any exchanges. So it's zero. Because if you think about it, without an actual project, you can't actually deliver an exchange. An exchange needs to be delivered by two different entities. And if you think about it that way, it doesn't make sense for us to not work together and start blaming other people when things go wrong. And or even like, you know, this is part of my responsibility, this is part of your responsibility. My responsibility is only to prepare my EPs when they're overseas. That's not my responsibility anymore. That things don't work that way because we are AIESEC. Because as an organization, we want to work together and we should work together to deliver these international experiences. And so let's start talking about like how we want to build this partnership. So there are a couple of things that of course you want to consider before you want to start a partnership. You can't just like, approach a random entity and be like, hey, can we be partners? Can we be friends now? Things don't work that way. So first thing you need to understand is you need to understand what your market wants. What's the demands? I- if you, let's say for Melbourne University last year, right? We want to sell an exchange. We want to promote exchanges to Kyrgyzstan because they know, we know that they have good project and all this stuff, good servicing as well. Right? In the end, is it really relevant to the market? Does the market really want that? Does the market really want to go to Kyrgyzstan? So sometimes setting up this partnership might not be useful to some extent. But if you can create the demand to actually get the EP to go there, by all means, set up this partnership and work towards it. And for these partnerships, hopefully, you should be relevant not only to your market but also to the external environment. For example, maybe with the Colombo plan coming up, government setting up Colombo plan, and university being wanting their student to be more Asia ready, especially with like the fastest growing economy around Asia. In the university wants student to understand the fastest growing economies in Asia, like India, China, Indonesia, and even Vietnam as well. And making sure that we actually support this relevance through our product is key. So we don't want to just be a random exchange program who sends like 1,000 EPs to, for example, I don't know, South America. Maybe South America is not as relevant to Australia as China is. And of course, before you want to set up your partnership, you have to kind of look at past data or information from past EPs as well, whether this LCs has been good. Because yes, entity can make a lot of promises, but sometimes they don't fulfill them, and we need to understand that we need we need some kind of like proof. Not only we can't just trust someone that their exchange will be good. So through understanding our market demand, being relevant to external, and also making sure that we are partner looking for excellent partners, not only any partners. That's the way we can grow together. uh, and this is just a summary of the steps of how to build a partnership, and then after this we'll go through a framework that has been done uh, last year by AIESEC Melbourne and AIESEC IPN in Mexico. uh, so basically, you look through the database, you look through opportunity portal, or any other channel maybe the national tracker even. Select your country, your LC. When you're selecting this country and LC, you want to look again at the same thing, external relevance, and preferably the size of the LC should be about the same, in the sense that you can actually really grow together through this partnership, and you want to build that kind of partnership. You want to develop together, not only one LC growing with just an EP. Partnership is not only about the number of realization, but also about growing the quality and satisfaction of our customers, and also the LC. uh, and then you need to get in touch with VP of that LC. So try to get in touch, get in contact. If you need help at all, contact your national committee of your, and essentially, or just Google them or Facebook page them and get in touch. From there on, you set up a meeting, you want to talk to them, and what you want to talk about is essentially you want to understand each other's reality. What is their problem? What is your problem? Can you complement each other? Can you work together? Is the project relevant? Is Australian needed in that LC? What kind of services do they provide? Where do they want to go? All this ambition should complement each other. And then once all this discussion is done, agreement should be reached, and from there, agreement is essentially like just a minimum promise, making sure that everything will actually goes okay. It's not on paper, that they're going to do it, and if they don't, you can keep them accountable to it because it's on paper. And next is just to make sure that you have constant update with the hosting entity as well, because sometimes things don't go to plan. For example, you don't raise enough EP for that LC. For example, problems are happening. You want to keep updating each other about all this stuff that are happening, and you want to build personal relationship. But because again, the key is to building or delivering a successful partnership is actually just communication, clear communication and transparency to actually build this partnership. So here I go. I'll just show you the framework that I have at the moment. There'll be a template available on the website as well. uh, So essentially, here in the first page is just general information about the book. That there's nothing much to it. But when we go to summary, we look at things like contact details of the LCP. Why LCP is necessary? Because in case anything goes wrong, the VPs cannot resolve them. You want LCP to be involved as well, and LCP should oversee the whole operation of the LC, and they should know about all this stuff. Uh, Also exchange VP, so the VP ICX and the VP OGX contact details, because essentially they are responsible for making sure that this partnership happen. And partnership managers is essentially the deliverer. They actually facilitate this partnership, making sure that EPs are going to the right projects to the right country and LC as well. And it's just summary. Like under that, it's just like a brief overview of the summary of the project. What kind of project they have? How many EPs do they want from Australia? How many EPs do they want from your LC? What is the goal of this whole project? How is this project relevant to the country? All the details, and essentially by having all these details, what kind of you can start assessing: is this project relevant to your entity or to your market? Is this project relevant to your country? Can the EP create social impact that we always promise as an organization? Under there is just a very simple thing called NPS score, goal, ambition, and current NPS score, and essentially figuring out our detractor issue and promote and essentially understanding each other's problem. What is problematic about their EP? What is problematic about our EP? How is their project going? Blah blah blah, and essentially see if we can complement each other. We can develop a system that actually help resolve this problem for each other. Uh, Under there is just a brief overview of what a recommendation of what you can talk about during your thing. But I'll move on to the next page, which is called a minimum agreement page. Minimum agreement is essentially like MOU, memorandum of understanding, or promises that we make to our EPs and to ourselves as well. So, for example, what we did last year is essentially under home we discuss all these 16 things that are listed here under logistics, jobs, living, experience, and learning is essentially the 16 things that are listed or that are made by AI for standards and satisfaction and for ensuring standards and satisfaction in every single experience. And what I did there was essentially we discussed about as a team we discuss about things we want our EP to have at least on the exchange. So that's the home under home. Here is just essentially the demand of our LC, and the specifics just the details of it or more explanation. Essentially, when you're talking with that LC, you talk about promises or notes. It's basically essentially comments on like whether they can meet these promises, whether this will happen, that will happen, this can happen or not. And final agreement is actually the final compromise. So this is the most important stuff, making sure that after all this discussion happened, that things, some things might will be met, some expectations will be met, some expectation won't be met, but can we compromise on this? Can we compromise on that? And making sure that all this agreement is reached and agreed by both sides would be is compulsory. Next is just risk management. So that's legality. So understanding what is a problem if anything were to happen, making sure that all this stuff is actually here, just on paper. Mm, and this is a governing policy. This is the basic. This is taken from XPP and modified from there. Essentially, if you need, you can add more things to it, but you can't unfortunately subtract anything from it because this is already minimum agreement on the XPP, on the legal contract that actually governs the operation of AIESEC. I hope this template is easy enough to use. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'll put down my contact details at the end of my presentation today. And moving on, just oh, last words. Again, it's just a brief, like my opinion on the. It's just a brief opinion on the whole thing. Again, you need to understand that yes, we are an organization, but at this point in time, each LC have their own priorities. For example, your priority would be making sure that your EP have the best preparation and will have the best uh experience overseas, making sure that you met each other's priorities, kind of, and compromise, and maybe complement and or leverage from what each other do better at, and learn from each other. I do understand that some LCs also have their own memorandum of understanding. Again, that's by all means that's fine. You can add things to the contract, you can add things to the legal agreement. Just make sure that it helps you to deliver better experiences. If it doesn't, there's no point doing it. It's just a waste of time. And you want to standardize processes used by both LCs. There are multiple matching channels available, like Facebook pages, Google Drive, Google Form, Podio, all this stuff, right? We need to make sure that it is aligned by both LCs. So make sure that yes, all your EPs can easily apply for their project. They can easily check your EPs, whether your EPs have applied and all this stuff, and making sure that by doing this, the EPs live are going to be so much easier in contacting another LC. And again, the key thing is just all this partnership is based on personal relationship. The better personal relationship you have with the hosting entity, the easier it is to get things from them, to work together, to deliver stuff. If there's a problem, they'll be more likely to help you, because you're a friend with them. And it's as simple as that. And hopefully this framework is useful. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to email